Narrowing down the list of projects in Canton, officials met today to discuss how the village should spend its $4.5 million New York Forward grant. A local planning committee met with state officials and an engineering firm to narrow down a list of potential projects. The goal was to trim total project costs to between $6 and $8 million. The group was able to get just into that range, hitting $7.9 million by cutting some proposed projects entirely and trimming the cost of a Midtown Plaza redevelopment project from $2.5 million down to $2 million.
I'm very pleased with the progress that we've been making. We had a lot of very high quality applications for us to consider. That makes it difficult, of course, to narrow it down, but there will be wonderful impact for our village.
A public workshop will be held on the 26th where folks can suggest how to further narrow down the scope of the overall project. The village aims to vote on a final slate by October 8th.